Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Friends, welcome to the Encounter program sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. I'm your host today, Mark Kimpland, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that we are living in very different times. With a present pandemic and in the midst of the coronavirus, we are experiencing life as we have never experienced it before. I was thinking as I was on my way to this taping today, how just even the role of a pastor is so different than it was just 5 weeks ago. Probably 75% of what I do and probably what you do also is different than it was 5-6 weeks ago. And so I thought it was important in this particular program to get a medical expert on the show and to talk to them about our present situation, about the pandemic, and also what some of the facilities and services that are available in the Southern Tier. And so I am very happy to introduce to our show today Dr. Allan Capin, the Medical Director of Lourdes Hospital Walk-In Clinic. So Allan, welcome to the show, and I'm so glad that you accepted our invitation to be with us today. You and I have been together via text and one phone call and today, but I appreciate your willingness to share a little bit about what you're doing. But let's start here. Let's start first maybe with a little bit of history. Tell us a little bit about your background so that our viewers and our listeners can know Allan a little bit better.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on the show today. On behalf of myself and Lourdes Hospital as well. It's a great opportunity, especially during these times. So as you know, my name is Dr. Allan Capin. I'm board certified in family medicine. I went to University of Houston. I went to New York Medical College in the 5th Pathway program, and I did my residency in family medicine. I was actually a funny story. I was a traveling physician for a year. I'm originally I'm living in Miami right now, Miami Beach. I have a home there. But I was traveling, and I had a contract with Lourdes Hospital for 1 year, and to kind of help out up here. That would be a good idea. I have family in the area. And so, once I got here, I just fell in love with the place, to be honest with you. And one of the reasons that I came here was because of Lourdes Hospital and kind of their mission and their culture and the ambiance and the opportunity for me to be here as well.
Now, I guess I'll ask the elephant in the room question. Miami Beach, Binghamton. What are the subtleties is there any culture shock here as you began your work or as you continue your work here?
It is, and that's a good question to ask. Actually, there's an obvious difference, and no offense to there's an obvious difference between a Southern Miami Beach and Endwell. But this is where I rely on my faith and on God as well. And everywhere along my career, I've always gone where He sends me. And this was the perfect fit for me. I did a lot of prayer. And again, my relationship with Lourdes through that whole year was so important and so impactful in my decision. I have an 8-year-old daughter at home, which I had to consider as well, and some family members. So it was definitely a sacrifice. But the more I spent time here, and the more I dealt with Lourdes, and the more I dealt with administration, my decision became easier. And so that's why I made the move over here.
At first blush, it kind of sounds as if when you were involved in the beginning with Lourdes and such things, you were captivated maybe about their mission or their history or all of that. Can you share a little bit about that? What was that? The kind of was the glue that put that all together?
Sure. Yeah, I have a very strong Catholic background as it is. I've always been very involved with the church. And one of the things that impressed me the most about Lourdes was just their general mission. And the fact that I'm not sure if the area or Endicott per se or Endwell and surrounding areas are very aware of the impact that Lourdes has on a daily basis in the community. And that's something that I wanted to highlight. So, and I appreciate you having me on today to make that be known. Lourdes is an incredible nonprofit organization, and one of the things that they do is that they're relentlessly, especially during these times, they're relentlessly trying to provide their services and make themselves be known.
Now, are there things that really, especially in the beginning and such things, that really stood out to you regarding those services? Are there specifics and such things about that mission that Lourdes had that really stuck out to you and really was like, hey, I'm home here and I can get myself behind this mission and what they're doing?
That's an excellent question. And you know, anytime you're in any place, you have to buy into the culture.
Yes.
You have to buy into the mission. And that made it so much easier for me. But since I was in the arena of the walk-in clinics and being a family practice physician and being involved in my passion for urgent care, it made it apparent to me once they offered me the medical director position that there was a lot of potential here and there was a lot of need as well. And so one of the other reasons that I came here was to take advantage of that and to because Lourdes and I basically share the same vision. And to tie that into the walk-in, you know, the walk-in clinic is something that during these times is essential. We have our primary care, which is recommended as first line because you want to establish care with your physician over time. So the walk-in is a way of kind of filling in the gaps sometimes and kind of seeing cases that are a little bit more acute. But the mission right now of the walk-in per se is to let the parishioners know and the general public know that we are there for them, especially through a new service, which is the virtual urgent care. During the pandemic, it's been such an issue where everybody has been told by the governor at state and federal levels to stay at home. And so how do you receive care now during this time? It's kind of redefined medicine per se. So now the public is faced with the decision of wanting to be seen and at the same time not being able to leave their house. So it's kind of a difficult situation.
So it's really, if I hear you correctly, it's kind of a dual process of an actual walk-in, an actual physical walk-in type of ministry, but also this virtual walk-in. Now, is this something new? Is this something that's on? How long has this been a part of what you are doing and what Lourdes is doing?
Well, the preference has always been for what they call brick and mortar service,
Sure.
which redefined is basically the essential, the patient comes in, they get seen, they get a history taken, and also the physical examination. So that whole visit in person will always be prepared. However, telemedicine is kind of a new concept, and although it has its limitations, it's also extremely beneficial as well. And so during these times, like I had said, since the patient can't get out of the house, they have an opportunity to be seen from their home where we can quote-unquote triage them, which is basically assess them and see, is it something minor that can be treated over the phone? Is it something that requires an in-person visit with their primary care physician, or if the patient has to go to the emergency room?
So what would be the recommended? I'm sure there's viewers and listeners and such things that maybe have heard of the walk-in, maybe have used the walk-in, may or may not have done the virtual walk-in and such. Is there a sequence that's recommended, that you recommend? Let's say that someone's not feeling well, they're hearing all kinds of things in the media and such things. Is the virtual brick and mortar walk-in best to do first, or would the virtual one be done? Is there a recommended sequence?
That's an excellent question, and that's something that we face on a daily basis. Because, and I'll give you a prime example. Sometimes a patient comes in with chest pain. Now, chest pain could be of cardiac origin or could be of non-cardiac origin, but of course the patient, in their despair and in their acuity, they may not know the difference. So the walk-ins are set for a specific type of patient, and we will gladly see everybody. Don't misunderstand.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah,
that's
we will
important
gladly
here.
see anybody.
Sure.
But it's also we are geared for acute and minor issues. bronchitis, some forms of pneumonia, if you have cuts, bruises, if you have dislocations, you have fractures, that kind of medical attention is what we really focus on. Now, if we do receive a patient that has shortness of breath or chest pain or something more severe, then it is a point of contact in which we are trained for chaos. We're trained to be able to designate or direct that person in the right direction. Versus in emergency room setting, which is really the basis of the emergency room is for true emergencies.
Yes.
And those true emergencies would be something like a stroke or a chest pain or something more severe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Friends, we are delighted today to have with us the Dr. Allan Capin, the medical director of Lourdes Hospital Walk-In Clinics. I'm intrigued. How has this pandemic changed, at least virtually or in reality, either on your end, or have you seen vast differences or nuances with the pandemic as to how the walk-ins are being utilized or the virtual walk-in being utilized? Can you speak to that? How is it? I would imagine would be different a little bit, and if so, how?
Absolutely. So that's another excellent question. What's happening now is because of the pandemic and because of the restrictions of staying home, before we were enjoying very high levels of patient care, now all of a sudden all of those patients are being told to stay at home. And so how do they address their needs? And so this is where telemedicine comes in. So Lourdes has already been working on a telemedicine project, or virtual care, which is basically a synonymous term. And so we've had to switch gears because all of the, obviously the people are not coming in, the patients are coming in for care because they can't. Or it's recommended that they should.
Right.
You still have some that come in, for that are not feeling very well and should be seen in person. And so the whole concept of telemedicine was was built for situations like this one, in which we're forced with having to see somebody at a distance. And so there's still a great benefit. There's still a lot of patients that can be seen via that platform. And so the only thing that, and I had mentioned earlier, the only limitations that we have is that, the physical examination becomes a little bit tough. But with a very, very good history, we are able to surmise more or less what problems the patient is having. And I want the public to know that we also can point them in the right direction. So if there's a need for them to come in, I don't want them to feel like, oh my God, this is just by TV, and they feel a little bit limited, because the patient also has to get used to it. It's a little bit uncomfortable at first to be seen at a distance, and maybe they feel a little bit insecure about that their care is not complete. But, trust us and let us make that decision for you, because at least we see you, we talk to you, we have that experience, and we can point you in the right direction. Either you stay home or you go to the emergency room, or we'll call you to come in.
So the virtual connection then may just be that. You give a recommendation, they do whatever they do on their end. It may lead to a walk-in visit, a recommendation for that, or in most acute cases, in an emergency room or a hospital visit then. Is that what you're saying?
That is absolutely correct. That is correct. There are a lot of instances we tell the patient, this is what we want you to do. We're very explicit in our discharge instructions. So whenever we have, actually there's an email to them, which is excellent. So the whole report is sent to their email, and they can physically take that with them if they seek further care. But yeah, that's the whole basis of that.
Interesting. So there's the connecting the dots then along the way. It's not just a phone call, take 2 Tylenol.
It's not just a phone call.
Okay.
It's not just a phone call. And I want them to feel secure about that as well, because we can see them and we can triage them, we can point them in the right direction, we can call an ambulance if it's necessary, or we can tell them exactly. That brings a tremendous amount of relief. Because there's a lot of people at home that have a lot of non-COVID symptoms, but they have COVID symptoms as well. The media is our friend, but it doesn't help as well either, because there's so much information out there, and it can become so overwhelming, and that it actually produces an anxious state. And so we're there for them in that respect as well.
One of my faults as a pastor is that I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers, and I've asked other professionals in the health community, chiropractors and dentists, this question, and I know I wanted to throw it out to you. How much would you say percentage-wise is the decline in walk-ins? I mean, is it significant, and what would be the percentage? And I know this is very subjective. This is appeasing my numbers idea, but what would be the increase in the virtual that people are doing now?
Sure. So that's a good question. It's been tough. The reality is it's been a very tough situation for myself, as far as the walk-ins, for Lourdes Hospital, and for any other hospital right now at the state and federal level. Our numbers have declined dramatically, but the willingness to serve and our mission to serve is still there, and that's why having switched to the virtual platform for us has been an ability to sustain us economically, but at the same time provide a service. If you're looking for percentages, I would truthfully say about 80%. There's been about an 80% decline in in-house visits, whereas now the virtual care is actually ramping up. In this area, for some reason, in New York area in particular, we don't have a lot of experience with that because there hasn't been an overwhelming need for it. And that's another reason that I want to emphasize here today is the fact that virtual care in the midst of all of this is a very feasible, and it's a very solid option for the patient and for the parishioner. So, our numbers are increasing now, and Lourdes is more than ready to assume to go into action and to help out, and to help compensate for this.
Friends, I'm delighted, I'm intrigued by this conversation. I am delighted to just kind of reintroduce Dr. Allan Capin, the medical director of Lourdes Hospital Walk-In Clinics. Has Lourdes or your staff and such things kind of projected beyond the pandemic? Because as a pastor, I feel your pain. I feel your passion for this. This is, I think, our 6th week of a virtual worship, which is different, it's weird, it's but a vital ministry. And what we're looking to do as a church is, all right, when we get the green light and everything kind of comes back to somewhat normal, how does this virtual worship continue and how it will be utilized? Have you looked at that, projected beyond the pandemic to what this virtual walk-in will look like, feel like, talk like, all of that kind of thing?
Yes, I actually think that the patients are quote unquote warming up to the concept because they're starting to see that there's a great benefit in its use. I think that there was still, hopefully this pandemic will be gone soon, and I'm sure we'll return back to normal where people will prefer to go to the walk-in clinic. But we do, Lourdes Hospital and Ascension Medical Group does want to sustain the virtual, because the virtual also, there's a lot of patients there that may not necessarily have to come in and drive from remote areas, rural areas where it's a little bit more burdensome to have to drive all the way in and then come back out. So there's a service there as well. But we would like to sustain this. This is something that, it's not only us, but it might be the wave of the future. So it's something that the patient might have to get used to eventually. And we'd like to, we're trying to adapt to the times as well and stay ahead of the curve.
Yes. And to really understand the demographics and what's needed in the community. And it's not, I feel a very kindred spirit as a pastor in what we're trying to do here. In this present weird time, but also beyond that time. So you've got one thing that I think this pandemic has done is it has reinforced our need for physical contact, for being face-to-face like this, that's being limited, but in the same time knowing that this virtual world has been a real blessing for us and continue to bless us going forward. One of the things that has surprised me after we were done with our live worship on Sunday were the number of people that not only took advantage of Zoom or Facebook, but also just the telephone, just listening to the worship. And so it's kind of learning that demographic and what people are comfortable with, and from that, making all your decisions. Are you finding that?
Absolutely. to me personally, human touch and human interaction will never die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basic. It's basic and we need it. And not only, I'm very impressed, and another reason why I moved here was this community. And all the surrounding communities in Endwell and in the Capin, and the caliber of the people here, they have been amazing, and it's been a test, and not only a test for people who believe in God, and also for the non-believers as well, because so many people have come forward during this time, and they've taken action, and they've responded to the call and to the adversity of all of this. And so I think that the fact that people are adapting and their persistence and their resiliency to adapt is something to be proud of. Not everything is negative in this world, you know, and that's something that I have paid attention to, and I would like to reinforce as well. And I think that a lot of people out there that need recognition for this and should be proud of themselves for the way that they have responded to the call.
Yes, indeed, indeed. In the midst of this uncertainty, there are many certainties that kind of put our faith in human nature. And also, you speak of your faith. I'd like to know how that weaves into this. From Miami to the southern tier to doing this, and as soon as you do this, a pandemic emerges. How has your faith played a role in your decision and in what you do day to day?
Well, my faith, one of the greatest gifts that I have ever received, and I've received many, a lot of material gifts and a lot of spiritual gifts as well. But the greatest gift that I ever received was receiving God in my life. And that changed me completely. And for any person that feels the same and knows what I'm talking about, that trumps any other gift that we can have. I was raised Catholic. I went to a Catholic school as well. But you know, beyond that, for the simple fact that you go to a Catholic school or that you attend a church, it doesn't necessarily make your relationship with God 100%. And I don't mean that in a negative way. What I'm trying to say is that the spiritual connection and getting to know God at that level, and the importance of coming to church and reconnecting. There's so many distractions right now. There's so much going on in the world that are pulling us in a different direction. And so I have always relied on my faith. I've always relied on my 5 minutes with God. And you know, there's a saying in the Bible that says, you know, I came to do the work of him who sent me. And that's how I feel. And I feel that, you know, God has always placed me in the place where I need to be. And that's Endicott and Endwell, and that's in the southern tier of New York. And I'm so glad to be here, and I hope to make a difference. But faith to me is everything, Pastor Mark.
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's, I just can't get over the dichotomy of the time in which we're living. And this is all about faith also, but also about the reality in which you and I are operating in, and so is everyone else from a day-to-day basis, that this pandemic is it's killing people. There's death, there's separation, there's hurt, there's anxiety, there's fear. But to also, as you spoke of, there are blessings in the midst of this. Just the reality of knowing how important personal contact is. So many things have lessened in our culture because of this, and to live in between those two realities is really a challenge, but a wonderful opportunity. Do you find that? I mean, between the horror of it all, living in that middle, because on the other side there are certainly blessings in the midst of this. The church, as the statistics that I read, and again I'm a numbers guy, the Church of Jesus Christ, especially in the Northeast, is growing because of virtual worship. Do you find that in the midst of your faith as you live this out?
Absolutely. As much people as we can touch, the better. And you know, and one thing that I wanted to mention also is that, you know, adversity is a greater lesson than when things are calm. So a little bit of adversity in your life makes you get down on your knees a little bit more, makes you pray a little harder. And these are the times that are challenging us. So there are things in life that we can control. And from, you know, being a doctor, that would be staying at home, washing your hands during this time, keeping your social distance, those kinds of things. Those are things that we can control, our attitude. But the things that we can't control, which is, in a sense, this pandemic, and we're trying. Those are the things, that's the time that we have to lean on our faith and trust in God. Those are the periods where our faith comes in, and we have to have faith that our lives are entrusted in Him as well. So nobody's going to exit this world, in my opinion, without His permission. So that's where our faith is tested, and we have to draw from that strength, because I don't know of any other source, Pastor Mark, I don't know if you do, of any other source that gives us more strength, more calmness, and more guidance than the Word of God. And that has a tremendous impact in me as well.
Now, how does, and this is just kind of a sidebar question, we have about 2 minutes left and such things, but how does the Lourdes Hospital feed into that, the understanding of faith? I understand its roots and such things, but how is that, I guess, how is that brought to light day to day? Like, or isn't it? The issue of faith and all of that with patients and such. Is that?
Sure. We have a very, very strong, there's a department actually in Lourdes that's in charge of that. Every time we have a meeting at any site, it's begun with a prayer. So Lourdes is very, very true to their mission. Their response and the cohesiveness and all the qualities that you find in the Catholic faith or in the Methodist faith, or anything that has to involve God, Lourdes is committed to doing that. So they actually practice what they preach. And so by having the presence of God and also and reaching out to the community and incorporating both the medical aspects of faith and the other and the spiritual aspects of faith, that 1-2 punch is evident on a daily basis. That's something that I want the parishioners to know.
Yes.
Well, we're committed and we're here for you,
Yes.
and we want to serve, and that is the whole goal of Lourdes Hospital.
That's awesome. Allan, we have about a minute left, and I wanted to give you at least a minute. Is there anything else that you want to tell those that are viewing us on the television and those hearing us on the radio? Any words of encouragement or any last thoughts that you want to share about what your important work is, and any nugget of truth that you want to share with them in their last minute? I'll give you the
Sure.
floor.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, I would first like to highlight that we are trying to improve our virtual urgent care. We're trying, and so we're trying to get the word out that this service is available, that it's viable, and that it's necessary right now. And so if they reach ascensiononlinecare.com, all you have to do is log in there, and you will be, or download the Lourdes app. It's a very simple process, and the parishioner or the patient can contact that app, and they will be redirected to one of us. And we're here for you. Education is key right now. And we're here to provide and to help you deal with spiritual aspects as well as medical ones as well. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you to all.
Awesome. Friends, our guest today again has been the Dr. Allan Capin, the Medical Director of Lourdes Hospital Walk-In Clinics. I thank you for joining us today, and during these trying times, may God bless you and keep you. Have a wonderful day.